You've been firing off job applications and hearing crickets. You might as well take your resume, put it in a bottle, and then feed it to a whale, hoping that one day it washes up to a recruiter. Now, most people blame the job market, saying that it's dead. I disagree. It's not broken, we've just been playing by the wrong rule set. The main culprit for it being harder than ever to get a job is LinkedIn. But in my path to becoming overemployed, I discovered a secret so sweet, a strategy so devious that I was tempted not to make this video. Because it got me 17 job offers in 4 months. The same platform that was crushing most job seekers' dreams was secretly my personal recruiting machine. But before we break down how to use LinkedIn properly, a little history lesson. In the writing of this video, I got curious. How did applying to jobs look like before email and before the internet? So I went straight to the source, a living fossil, my father. Sorry, Dad. Now, he graduated from college back in 1969 and told me that the process was pretty simple. It all started with a newspaper. You remember those things. You would take this newspaper, crack it open, and then flip to the back where there was a classified section. Craigslist before Craig, but only for jobs. Now, you would scan this list and then circle all the promising listings with a red pen. Never a pencil. I don't know why people use pencils. I can't believe that there are 2 billion pencils sold in the US every year. Other than standardized testing, nobody should use a pencil, own your mistakes, and use a pen. But I digress. Circle all the listings that you fancy, and then the crazy part. You would grab the one copy of your resume, get in the car, and drive to the local library. Speaking of which, this is what resumes used to look like back in the day. I wish I could find my dad's actual resume, but he said that he was typed on a Centric 2 typewriter, and that he would keep a stack of resumes in the glove box of his Subaru Brat just in case he needed to give someone one. And also, what a sweet car. They really don't make them like they used to. Bring back the utility coupe, people. Now, you would take this beautiful museum piece of a car and drive it to your local library to make a photocopy. Now, it was quite expensive to make a copy at about 10 cents per copy of your resume. But you decide to go crazy, spend a whole Washington, and get 10 copies, just in case disaster struck. Now you have all the resumes you'll ever need, and you pull out a map, another thing that my generation will never use. And then you perform one of the most technically complex algorithms out there, the traveling salesman problem. Go back to your newspaper, find the address of all the businesses that you circled, and then you figure out what the shortest route to hit each one of those businesses is. Now, once plotted, you drive to each one of those locations, resume in hand, handing it to the person at the front desk. Now, the big jobs still had decent competition, but the small and mid-sized jobs, you were competing against 5, maybe 10 people at max. Meaning that in that one day of hitting 10 businesses with your 10 resumes, you were very likely to get a job. My dad even said that one time he went to hand in his resume and someone had just quit, was walking out of the door, and that got him the job right there. Right place, right time. Now, 2 years after my dad started applying out of college, there was a pretty seismic change when it came to applying to jobs. In 1971, the US Post Office reorganized with the sole goal of making residential and business delivery near flawless, all of the suburbs, and making sure that people could get mail to and from easily, which meant that now you could apply for jobs from home. Just mail a copy of both your resume and cover letter to the desired address. Now, this both saved a tremendous amount of time, but also increased the scope of what jobs you could apply to, because now it wasn't in your immediate driving area. Now, this sounds all good in theory, but it also meant that the competition for each job went up because the barrier to apply was now lower, meaning that now you're probably competing with 20 to 50 people for each job. So if you kept applying using the same method, only applying to 10 jobs, then you were much less likely to actually land one. But it took a fraction of the time to apply to jobs, so while it used to take a day to apply to 10 jobs, now you could probably do it in an hour or two. Then came 1994 with an even bigger shift. Some might call it a tectonic shift when it came to applying, and that was the launch of Monster.com. For the first time ever, job seekers could search for jobs all across the US and apply to them all within the same platform using a new technology called email. And by the late 90s, email was the standard for job applications. No longer were people sending letters with their resumes in them. And this is where things start to take a bit of a downturn. See, by the early 2000s, companies were flooded with applications because now it was easier than ever. And if you're a manager looking for talent, it was infeasible for you to go through hundreds or even thousands of applications by yourself, all while trying to continue working your day job. Meaning that a new type of business started to blossom more than ever before: recruiting agencies. They would take the workload of hiring talent off of the company's plate and do it all for them. And recruiting agencies had a little secret up their sleeve. See, they didn't really want to go through 1,000 applications and resumes either, so they started using robots. And not the ones that Mr. K-Hole loves. Rather, applicant tracking systems. And I guarantee you that you've heard of them before, and while they sound like evil, complex little black boxes, what they actually are is quite simple. At the surface, they're just keyword matching devices. They scan the resume and all the details that the applicants provide into a system, and then the company that is hiring will set certain requirements. Say they need a GPA of 3.8 or higher, or they need more than 3 years of experience. Now this will save a tremendous amount of time because then the rest of the applicants that actually fit the criteria are then fed to the hiring manager, meaning in theory, they're only looking at the serious applicants. Then at the turn of the century, a big boy with dubious choice in glasses launched a company that we all know and hate, LinkedIn. Now it started as a professional networking site. How fun. Now, unsurprisingly, it wasn't that popular, but there was a feature in it that seemed to get a disproportionate amount of use, and that was their job board. So slowly, quietly, LinkedIn started to switch its efforts away from the networking and into the job board. And this made it the de facto job board for basically all applicants and recruiters. And on July 25th, 2011, a few days after my birthday, they released something that would break the job market. An innocuous button. Apply with LinkedIn. On the press release of it, the CEO of LinkedIn at the time, Jeff Weiner, said, "In this challenging jobs environment, LinkedIn's ability to connect talent with opportunities at a massive scale is more important than ever. Apply with LinkedIn is the next phase of our open platform effort, and we hope an important catalyst in creating economic opportunities for all of our members." An important catalyst indeed, because a few years later, they renamed it to Easily Apply. And this single button is the reason that most people struggle to find jobs. It lowered the bar to apply to a bare minimum that it only takes 2 seconds, where you often see jobs with thousands and thousands of applicants within a few hours of when the job was posted. Back when my dad was applying, it would take him literally years, maybe decades to apply to 1,000 jobs. But not too long ago, I did a test where I was able to apply to 1,000 jobs within just 1 week. And within those applications, my average interview rate was 3%, and I was using the very best resume available for myself. So we're at a point where if you're applying to tens, even hundreds of jobs, basically, you're not going to get hired. So what are we going to do about that? Now, I would love to say that the answer is abandon LinkedIn because there's another better route, but actually, most of us are probably using LinkedIn wrong. We can turn it into our strategic superpower. So here are the biggest hacks to make LinkedIn work for you, not against you. For starters, a lot of you are the equivalent of this guy on Tinder. He loves to talk about how ugly the women are on the platform and how he gets no matches. Basically, your profile is ass. Let's fix it. Also, a lot of people don't seem to understand dating apps. Modern dating apps use algorithms to assign an attractiveness score, actually using an ELO system very similar to chess or ping pong. Then the app will show you people that are within your sphere of attractiveness. So if you're only seeing unattractive people, you know what that means. There's a saying that if you run into an asshole in the morning, they're an asshole. But if you run into assholes all day, then you're probably the asshole. And if you're only seeing what you consider unattractive people, the easiest thing you can do to change it is to upgrade your pictures. And I say all this because I actually did an absurd deep dive into dating apps. My first couple attempts at using Hinge or Tinder resulted in a few bot matches, but then I spent the time, understood the algorithms, harnessed my tism, and then I actually came away with more matches than I knew what to do with and ended up going on 30 dates in 30 days. Actually more like 50 and 60, but 30 and 30 sounds better. I might make a video on it. Let me know. tangent aside, what I'm basically saying is, your profile is probably ass, so let's fix it. And the best part is that getting your profile whipped into shape is something that you do once, and then it pays dividends to every single time you apply. Why? Well, for starters, 87% of recruiters use LinkedIn daily. And after they look at your resume and like it, the first place that they land will be your LinkedIn profile. And not only that, but if you have a good profile, recruiters will actually start to come to you because they do searches, and if your profile is keyword optimized, then they will start reaching out to you. Meaning you're not only doing outbound to get jobs, there's also inbound coming in. Basically, if your profile sucks, you're invisible. And for us overemployed folks, we're not trying to go viral or become thought leaders, so this won't cover anything about posting on LinkedIn. This is just the tactical stuff that you do to your profile. First thing being, get 500 connections. Once you go from 400 to 500, above that doesn't matter because it will always say 500 plus. And there's literally no reason not to do this. People are so precious about their connections as if it really matters, like they're trying to curate a list of only people that they know. But then if you ask them, do you look at the LinkedIn feed? If you do, I got news for you. Wasting time. And there's a lot of other advice online that you need to tap your network. You need to send people messages that you used to know to get your connections up. Who cares? Literally just hammer all the connections that it feeds you. There's literally a tab, people that you should probably connect with, people that you should know, I forget what it's called. But literally just connect with all these random people. Hammer the connect button until you get to 500 connections. You will never talk to these people, you'll never look at the feed or message them. And everyone wants more connections, so they will connect with you back. Don't overcomplicate it. And don't worry about hitting the limit. LinkedIn will send you an alert when you're approaching the limit, and then send you a message when you hit it. Now, it is a weekly limit. I believe if you are a standard member, it's around 100, and then if you're premium, it's 250. And speaking of which, if you are not a premium LinkedIn subscriber, do it. Oh, but Wilson, it's expensive. I will use the same argument for dating apps. The single most important decision that you can make in your entire life is the person that you decide to partner up with. I'm not exaggerating. In terms of life satisfaction, how much money you'll make, and most other factors, the single highest correlated factor is who you choose to marry or spend your life with. And people are unwilling to spend $20 to give themselves a higher chance or to make it easier to find this person. That kind of insane? Same thing with LinkedIn. Maybe your job is not as important as the person you're going to spend your life with. Pretty dang important. And the ROI of it can be immediately measured. We're talking about a job that will pay you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and you won't spend $30 a month to help you get it more easily. At worst, if the job search takes you an entire year, then you will pay $360 for subscription. Again, for a job that will pay itself back within the first day. And if you do everything in this video, it will be a matter of months till you get that first or second job. I don't get paid by LinkedIn, I swear, but it makes you seem more serious. It allows you to send double the connections, it boosts your rank in recruiter searches, and on every single job, you can see the hiring manager or recruiter that posted it, meaning you can send them a message. That is so worth the money. And again, this and most of the other tips within this video is just to make your profile look legit. We want people to land there and go, wow, this guy really cares and isn't this guy. And if you are this guy, send me a DM and I'll set up a photo shoot to fix your pictures. Arguably the most important thing and the first thing that people will see is your picture. Treat it like the box of a product. You're going down a shelf, choosing which product you want to buy, and if it looks low quality, nobody's gonna buy it. And yes, I know you have no pictures of yourself, but I can guarantee you that you have a friend with a camera or at least a phone. Shoot them a text and say that you can take professional headshots of each other because they probably need one also. And if that's not enough, offer to buy them lunch. And if they're sick in the head, you can even offer to pay them. Google when it's going to be golden hour, go outside and with the sun facing you, not behind you, take a picture in portrait mode if you're using a phone. We want a clear headshot, shoulders and up. Smile if you want. No party pics, no sunglasses, no hats. You want approachable professional to be the vibe. In general, we want a pretty neutral or clean background, but honestly, take a picture with whatever background, chuck it into Canva, and if you push one button, it will remove the background, then you can change it to be whatever you want. And if you really want to go the extra mile, AI tools have gotten very good at generating professional headshots. These are the websites that you can use to have AI help you with your headshot. Or if you really want to, you can pay a professional, it will cost you about $100 and will get you within the top 1% of headshots that are on the platform. Again, but with modern technology, not entirely necessary. Next up is the banner that you have to think of as a billboard advertising you. Now, at the very least, don't leave it blank. That just screams that you don't give a damn. The easiest thing that you can do is to take the background of your photo and match it to your banner. Or you can add in the cityscape of where you want to work. Or even if you really want to stand out, something tied to your role. Project that you've worked on, maybe a metric that you helped increase. Again, you can pay someone $20 on Fiverr to design one better than 99% of people out there. Or just use these websites. Again, the results aren't perfect, they're all right, not great, but you can use them as inspiration and then just polish instead of staring at a blank page trying to think of what to do with. Next is your headline. Most people just write something like project manager at Google, which is fine, but LinkedIn gives you 220 characters to work with here. So we can use more of them. Here's a formula that I found online that I absolutely love. Your role helping who do what. Meaning, for an example, project manager helping to translate business goals into engineering roadmaps that actually ship. It's a little cheesy, yes, but it stands out among the people who just have a simple title. And again, AI can do this for you. Give it a little background. What do you do? What have you done? And then have it polish it into a one sentence using this prompt. Again, all the prompts will be in the description. Next up is the About section. And this section is basically a cover letter that lives forever and is readable by everybody. And recruiters say this is the #1 thing that they will look at, which is funny because most people's are horrible. Some general tips. First person only, not Wilson is a blank blank blank. I don't know where this trend started, but it's even on Spotify. You know that artists wrote it themselves, but then it's always written in the third person and it just sounds really odd. Then the first 3 lines are your hook, because after that, users will have to click the see more button, so you want this to be tantalizing to get them to read on. Then things to include: your major wins with numbers. What are the highlights of your career? What are your superpowers? What differentiates you? What is your USP, unique selling proposition? Think short story, not resume dump. As for the most part, they've already seen your resume and you have the experiences below, so you don't want to repeat yourself. Here's an example. I'm a product guy who loves turning messy business asks into technical plans. At company, I shipped a feature that was used by 1 million users in 6 months. My sweet spot, sitting at the messy intersection of finance, customers, and code, translating between all 3. Honestly, just write a few rough drafts, include some humor in it, then have Claude polish it using a prompt like this. Don't overthink it, and if you want to overthink it, just pay someone to do it. Again, links to everyone I've used in the description. Next up is your experience. This is your highlight reel. Don't just paste your resume in there. LinkedIn requires a little bit of a different format. Structure each role like this: what you did, who you did it for, and what was the outcome, using numbers if possible. For instance, led product roadmap for X, which increased our daily active users from 30,000 to 50,000 or something like that. Drove 30% faster release cycles, increasing our team's point velocity from 110 to 130. And by the way, make sure to list out all of your roles. Now, your resume, you only want to include the relevant ones, but on LinkedIn, we can include every single one. At worst, it can show a huge come up from where you were to where you are now. And generally speaking, according to LinkedIn, if you have one role listed, you will get 8 times more views on your profile, and then if you have 2 or more, you get 29 times the views. Basically, we just want it to be a long scroll. Next up are the skills, and this is our SEO highlight. We want to fill it with keywords. Recruiters use LinkedIn a little bit differently. Go into the search bar, add in specific tools or skills, and then they can search and see people who fit those criterias. Meaning that if this section is not filled out or it's not filled out well, you're missing out on people coming to you. So let's fill it out. They give you 50 slots, so try to use all of them. For starters, pin your top 3. What are the 3 that show up the most in the jobs that you're applying for? You want those to always be at the top. Then make sure that you're always using LinkedIn's pre-written language and not synonyms or slang. Particularly because we want to remember that people are searching for these things, so we want to make it exactly what they're searching for. Because sadly in SEO, guesswork is not an option. Next up is the extra credit section. First off, being the recommendations. These are testimonials. Think of them like 5-star reviews on Amazon. Honestly, I didn't have these and I thought they were dumb, but after talking to a few recruiters, I could see how they would be helpful. Basically, it's not a make or break, but if a recruiter is on the fence, they can't quite tell if you're real, having these testimonials will tip you over the edge and make them want to reach out. And the easiest way to get them, the same way that you get Amazon reviews, go to this sketchy website, pay them an absurd amount of money and wait for the reviews to trickle in. Just kidding. I owned an Amazon store in the past and this is illegal. Don't do it. That's way easier than that. And actually one of my products got killed because of the opposite. I had a competitor generate fake reviews and sadly no one will buy a product on Amazon if it has 3 stars, so it's basically a death sentence. Anyway, the recruiters that I talk to recommend the following strategy. Basically, write one for an old coworker. People feel guilty and they'll return the favor. Worst case, you could send them a message saying that you just wrote them a recommendation and that you're trying to beef up your profile and you would love if they could do the same. Even 2 to 3 strong recommendations can make you look legit without a question. Some other extra credit, licenses and certifications. If you have relevant ones, definitely include them. Presentations, websites, cool samples from your work, definitely good things to include if you have them and they're relevant for the job that you want. Languages, if you happen to speak Chinese, definitely include that because it's an interesting talking point. Basically, each layer that we are adding adds more depth. It makes the scroll longer. And put yourself in the recruiter's shoes. Open up your profile and imagine that you are looking for a candidate for a job. Would you be impressed? Or more importantly, would you even think that this is a real person? And speaking of recruiters, actually, one of the biggest ways to get seen by more recruiters is through visibility hacks. The first one being the open to work badge. It's that little green banner that you see show up on people's profiles. And people are generally hesitant to add this to their profile because they think that people at work will see that they're trying to jump ship. Now, LinkedIn realized this and added in a feature where you can turn it on but have it only seen by recruiters, and it even blocks recruiters who are within your own company. So it's basically set to invisible except for the people that you want to actually see your profile. Each one adds depth. Think of them like accessories. Optional, but the right one could make an entire outfit. Okay. Enough tactical LinkedIn stuff. We're almost an hour into recording and we haven't talked about applying at all. Hold your horses. As my 7th grade English teacher would say, cool your jets. We're getting to it. And remember, all of this was to make our applications stronger. Do it once and it compounds over every single application that we send out. Okay, so now we're ready to apply, but we need to make sure that we're applying by 2025 standards. Meaning, don't be that guy that's complaining about not finding a job if you've only sent 20 applications or honestly even 200. In general, I like to say that finding a job, particularly a second job that's remote and is extremely competitive, will take 1,000 applications. Is it true? Not necessarily, but if we put our expectations with this giant number, then when we've sent out 500, we won't be disappointed because we know that we're only halfway to our expectation. It keeps us in the game long enough to actually get lucky. Now, this doesn't mean just spamming LinkedIn. Easy applies, we can do better than that for 2 reasons. The first one being that there is a limit on LinkedIn. Sometime in 2024, they added a cap where you can only press the easy apply 50 times in one day. Now, you can still apply on the company website using the slow way, but goddammit, if you're trying to get a job, you better be hitting that limit every single day. The other reason, it's average. That's what everyone else is doing. Because the hit rate is extremely low, but honestly, it takes so little time that it's still worth it. It just can't be our only strategy. Also, another note on LinkedIn one-click applies generally. The competition isn't actually as steep as it seems. Yes, every job is receiving hundreds or probably thousands of applications, but a significant portion of those people are completely unqualified. Not like they don't have enough job experience, but like they're applying in the wrong industry, they couldn't even be hired because they're in the wrong country, or the person doesn't actually exist. Watch my North Korea video. These are just people who are pushing the button to apply to as many applications as possible. And I like to think that 75% of the people, of that number that you see of people who applied, will be screened out immediately by the ATS system. Meaning, to get reviewed by a human, we need to be within that top 25%, which is actually a much smaller number and means that our odds are not as bad as we think they are. They're still pretty bad. For instance, in my 1,000 applications, my average interview rate was 3%. But if you're doing 1,000 applications, that means you're getting 30 interviews. Anyway, job descriptions lay out exactly what they are looking for, so we should use that. And since ATS systems are tailored to look for exactly that job description, then we can just tailor our resume to ensure that it is getting passed to the next stage. And I'm gonna make a longer, super in-depth video on how exactly to do this, but for now, let's go to the 80-20 approach, because this video is already long enough. This is a way that you can do it in 2 minutes or less per apply. Basically, we need to think, what are the most keyword-heavy sections of our resume? It's the summary and it's the skills section. If we just want to go fast, we're only going to alter those 2 parts and don't touch anything else. Now you can do this manually, but I use ChatGPT for it. Copy and paste the entire job description in and then use this prompt. Again, all of them are in the description. Then pluck those relevant keywords that actually fit your experience and shove them into the beginning of your skills section. Then if you really want to go crazy, go into their roles and responsibilities section and make sure that you are tailoring your experiences so that they are captured within each one of those points, if applicable again. It's as easy as that. Don't overthink it. And generally, ChatGPT is not going to give you perfect results, but the good thing is, the more that you are tailoring your application, both the better that you get at it and the better results that it will give you if you are telling it what it does wrong. Meaning, what I do is, at the end, once I've tailored it, I then send it back and say, this is what I actually used, references for next time. Now, if you just do this, fine-tuning your resume, for each job description, you'll easily be in the top 10% of applicants getting reviewed by a human each time. And I know this because over the course of my 1,000 applies, for the resumes that I didn't tailor, there was a 1% interview rate, but for the ones I did, it was a 3%. Now next, we need to make sure that we're applying to the right jobs. For starters, because we're a channel about overemployment, and that requires applying to remote jobs, let me hit you with some stats. Did you know that on LinkedIn, only 20% of jobs are remote? But that 20% of jobs receives 60% of the total applies on the platform. And that is why I say that it will take many more applies than you think. And actually, a hack can be applying for hybrid or in-person jobs because they're receiving a disproportionately low number of applications. Now, I'm working on a video in the future of how we can turn those hybrid roles into remote ones. You can do it over the interview process or the onboarding process. It's possible. I've done it twice. But moral of the story, even if it's your second job, don't stray away from those hybrid roles. Worst case, you can take some time off from your first job to onboard on the second and then transfer it to being remote. And if it's your first job and you really need one, then you should probably be applying to in-person roles. Now, I personally would never go back. It makes me sick to my stomach. I want to throw up just thinking about a cubicle, but just think about it as a temporary fix. But generally, overemployed folks, I know that you're only still going to be applying to remote jobs, so we need to learn how to search correctly so that we're not wasting time applying for or even just weeding through jobs that we won't apply for. Most people search on LinkedIn like they're Googling lunch spots, project management jobs near me. Wrong move. If you want to filter out the garbage listings and zero in on what actually fits, then we need to go deeper than the basic filters provided, which I see recently they actually removed the filters, so this is more important than ever. To really narrow in, you have to write your own logic using Boolean searches, which is basically baby SQL coding. It's not as complicated as it sounds. It's basically English but with operators. The main ones that are helpful are and, or, and but. And is the easiest of the bunch and basically means that our search results need to have both of the terms that we're putting in. For instance, project manager and remote, the results will be for project managing roles that are all remote. Or it's a little more complicated, but it basically means that it can include either of the search terms that we're adding. For instance, UX designer or project manager. This basically gives you more breadth when you're searching. Now, the most confusing one at first is not. And that basically means that the search results won't include whatever search term you add there. And this is where it gets really powerful. For instance, project manager not senior, meaning that you will get all of the project management roles that don't have the word senior in it. Now, I'm sure that you can see that these are helpful on their own, but when the real magic comes is when you start to string them together. For example, you can search for specific words. Want to filter for project management roles that are remote, but then exclude anything with the word senior in it? Filters can't do that, but Boolean searches can. Project manager and remote, not senior. And then you can take it even a step further by using parentheses to string together your or clauses. And to show you how powerful it is, you can search for this. You absolutely can't do this with drop downs. This takes a little practice and some fine tuning, but once you get it down, you're using a sniper rifle and saving yourself tons of time sifting through roles that you will never actually apply to. Okay, so now we've honed in on the jobs that we're going to apply for. Now what? Again, like I said before, don't just rely on the easy apply button. Before we press that button, always check to see if there is another side door that we can apply in. For instance, go to the company website, fill in that internal application. Yes, it's slower, but it filters out the lazy applicants, and usually recruiters take precedence to the applicants that come through there and sift through those first before they go through the easy applies. And that being said, unless the job is perfectly suited for you, you don't want to spend any more than 5 minutes on these applications. And that's all because the variable that we should be optimizing for within this whole process is speed. If we think that we're going to have to apply 1,000 times, if we save even 1 minute per time, we're talking about a time saving of over 17 hours. So all those little minor time saves that you find compound. And that being said, if there's no other place to apply, easy apply will do the trick, but make sure that you're tailoring your resume within that easy apply because it lets you choose which resume you want to send. Now, another way to go about it, if you have LinkedIn Premium, is the following. After you apply to a job, you can actually see the recruiter or the hiring manager that posted it, again, if you have Premium, and you can send them a message. Now, huge disclaimer, don't just send them a message like this. Instead, what I like to do is go to their profile, read through if they have any posts, and then write them a message applauding something that they said or offering a bit of value or insight. Something specific, make it genuine, and then include at the end that you just applied to one of their positions. Flattery will go a long way, but honestly, most of the time, there's nothing that you can use to beef up your message. So then you can just send a message that lays out why you're perfect for the job, only if you actually are. The message would read something like this. Hey, recruiter's name, just applied to the role, and my skill set perfectly aligns. I've worked on relevant project at company and would love to contribute. Let me know if there's anything I can clarify. That's it. No need for a life story. Keep it simple. Messaging recruiters isn't a guaranteed shortcut, but it bumps your name up the stack. And sometimes that's really all you need. Now, if you've done everything laid out here, you'll land a second job. And when you do, you can vanish, sort of. You can still use LinkedIn to apply, but don't connect with any coworkers, don't post on it, and if anyone asks, you don't use it. Now, let's say you went through all of this and you still dread applying on LinkedIn. I made this whole video talking about the other secret job pools that not many people are talking about, and people seem to like that video, so check it out. Thanks for watching.